Hello there and welcome back to So You Pick Job Edition, where we have a look at your toolkit, how to get your job store, your job gauge, and how it all works. So this time we're hanging out with Leah because we're going to be having a look at one of the new jobs being released with Endwalker, the Reaper. Now, Reaper is a melee DPS job which uses a scythe as a weapon and has a Grim that they can unleash for some hard-hitting attacks. First impressions, it's pretty cool and I am enjoying the style so far, but time will tell. So, all of the expansion jobs work differently to the start classes that we've been doing because none of them start at level 1. They all start at different levels based on what expansion they're from. So, Heavensward jobs, Astrologian, Machinist and Dark Knight, they all start at level 30 when you unlock them. Stormblood jobs, Samurai and Red Mage, they start at level 50. Shadowbringers, Gunbreaker and Dancer, they both start at level 60. And lastly, the two new ones, Sage and Reaper, for Endwalker, they start at level 70. So when you unlock the job, you're kind of thrown in at the deep end because you suddenly have a whole bunch of skills and abilities instantly at your disposal. So it can be a little bit daunting to start off with, trying to figure out what everything does and how everything fits together. So me and Leah invite you to come join us as we dive into the basics of the Reaper. You ready to go, Leah? Cool. Let's get going. Right guys, so in order to unlock the Reaper job, you need the following. 1. You need to own the Endwalker expansion. And 2. You need to have a combat job at level 70 or higher. Now once you have both of those, you will come here to pick up this quest. Now the NPC isn't here for me since I've unlocked it already, but they will send you just around the corner to your job master. Just speak to Loyalamu here to let you in to see her. Now, finish her quest and you will be the proud owner of the Reaper job store, first scythe, and a gear coffer which holds a set of level 70 gear. Now, to get the gear, make sure you are in a city and just head into your inventory and use the coffer which will add the gear to your armory chest. And to change to the Reaper job, you'll be going into the character menu like so, and unlike the starter classes, you will be equipping the scythe weapon and not the jobstone down here. You won't be coming down to the jobstone down here. You'll be heading up into this slot, the main hand, and you'll be equip the scythe weapon, in this case the deep gold war scythe, which is the one you get given from the quest, and that will change you to Reaper. Your Reaper jobstone will equip automatically, because the expansion jobs work a little bit differently. Now once you've equipped your weapon, you are now a Reaper, and you will be naked. So for speed, I would suggest selecting the recommended gear and setting up a gear set for Reaper while you're in the character menu. If you don't know how to do that, check the card popping up now to see my short guide on it. But if you're all sorted, congratulations, you are now an official Reaper with a full but messed up hotbar. Now, personally, I would remove everything from the hotbar and start fresh because they tend to place stuff randomly on your bar as it throws it all at you. To do that quickly, you can use the following macro, which will remove everything from that hotbar. So make sure you pick the right one because you can't undo it. So, now comes the fun bit. We are going to have a look at your level 70 toolkit, which is your starter one. Then we're going to put it all together at the training dummy, and then we'll have a quick look at it in a dungeon setting. Right guys, so before jumping into the toolkit descriptions, we're going to have a quick look at the job gauge. Now, the Reaper's job gauge is called the Soul Gauge, and it's fairly straightforward. When you use certain weapon skills, that will generate points which will start to fill up your soul gauge bar up to a maximum of 100 points. Now we'd use those points in order to use your more hard-hitting abilities. So the aim of the game is to keep filling your bar up in order to do the hard-hitting damage as much as possible. Because the faster something dies, the less time it has to kill your party. It's the aim of any DPS. So that being said, we're going to go straight into the toolkit itself. Now first up is Slice, which is the first part of your DPS combo. It will deliver an attack with a potency of 300 and has an additional effect which will increase your soul gauge by 10 points. Nice and easy. Next up, Waxing Slice. Now that is the second part of your DPS combo. It will deliver an attack with a potency of 140 and obviously it combos off of Slice. It has a combo potency of 380 and has a combo bonus of increasing your soul gauge by 10 points as well. Now next up you have Shadow of Death, which delivers an attack with a potency of 300 and it has an additional effect of applying a debuff called Death's Design, which will increase the damage you deal to that target by 10%, and that debuff will last for 30 seconds. Now you can extend it if you use Death Design again before the timer runs out. It will extend that by another 30 seconds up to a maximum of 60 seconds. So the most time you can get on the clock for Death Design is a minute, and it has another additional effect which will increase your soul gauge by 10 points if the target is killed before the effect expires. So if it dies before the debuff runs off, you will get an extra 10 points in your soul gauge bar. So next up, you will have Harp. Now this is a ranged attack which will deal unaspected damage with a potency of 300. Now you would mostly use that when you have to dodge an enemy's AoE and you need to be at range. You can hit them with a couple of harps as you're waiting to be able to run back. Fairly straightforward. Now next up you have Hell's Ingress. Now that is a gap closer. It will, when you use it, it will quickly dash you forward 15 yards. It has an additional effect which will allow your next harp to be cast immediately, which is quite cool, and that will last for 15 seconds. Now you cannot use Hell's Ingress while you are bound, and it will also share a recast timer with Hell's Egress, which is coming up next. Now Hell's Egress is pretty much the opposite of Hell's Ingress. Does all the same stuff, except you will quickly dash 15 yalms backwards instead of forwards. Now we'd use these mostly for getting out of an AoE quickly and getting back into fight quickly after you've dodged the AoE. However, you've got to be careful with these ones because you will dash in the direction that you're facing. So when you use Hell's Ingress, if the boss is on your left hand side and you're facing to the right, when you use Hell's Ingress, you'll dash to the right. You won't dash towards the boss. You'll dash in the direction that you're facing. So if you're not paying attention, you can actually dodge into an AoE or off the edge of the arena, which is very real things that can happen. So be mindful of your positioning when you use these two moves. Now next up you have Spitting Scythe, which is your first AoE ability. Now this will deliver an attack with a potency of 140 to all nearby enemies, and yet again has an additional effect of increasing your soul gauge by 10 points. Now next up you will have Infernal Slice, which is your third part of your DPS combo, and that will deliver an attack with a potency of 140. It will combo off of Waxing Slice, and if you do the whole combo, the potency will be 460. And yet again, if you do the full combo, it will increase your soul gauge by 10 points. pattern here. Now next up you have Wall of Death. Now, that will deliver an attack with a potency of 100 to all nearby enemies, and it is the AoE version of Shadow of Death. It has all the additional effects, same additional effects as Shadow of Death, just in AoE form, so you'll hit more enemies with it. Now next up you will have Arcane Crest. Now that will grant you a barrier which nullifies damage totaling of up to 10% of your maximum health points, and that shield will last for 5 seconds, and you can recast that every 30 seconds. Now this will mostly be used when you get yourself in a position where you can't dodge an attack and you know you're going to get hit, and your healers, they will prefer you to dodge the ability, dodge the move as best you can. But if you can't, make sure you use Arcane Crest, they'll hit you a little bit less for it. Now next up you have Nightmare Scythe, which is the second part of your AoE physical combo. Will deliver an attack with a potency of 120 to all nearby enemies. It will combo off of Spinning Scythe. If you do it as part of the combo, it will increase the potency to 180. And again, your combo bonus will increase the soul gauge by 10 points. Now next up, you will have Bloodstalk. Now Bloodstalk will summon your avatar to deliver an attack with a potency of 340. Now it has an additional effect. It will grant you a buff called Soul Reaver, which will last for 30 seconds. Now that Soul Reaver buff will allow you to use both Gallows and Gibbet. Now these two interact with each other, so if you use Gibbet, it will enhance your next use of Gallows, and likewise if you use Gallows, it will enhance your next use of Gibbet. So you'll want to be alternating these two whenever you can. Now Gibbet will deliver an attack with a potency of 400, and it will be boosted to 460 when you execute that from the target's flank, either side. If it is enhanced by having used Gallows beforehand, the potencies increase. Just a basic enhanced Gibbet with no positional will be boosted to 460. And if you enhance it and do the flank maneuver, it will boost it to a whopping 520. Now, once you've used Gibbet, it will grant you the enhanced Gallows buff, which will buff your next Gallows use, and that buff will last for 60 seconds. Likewise, the opposite is true for Gallows. Same potencies, same enhanced potencies, except the additional effect will grant you an enhanced Gibbet, which will last for you for 60 seconds. So these will bounce. I don't know if I explained that correctly, but these will bounce off of each other. So you'll be alternating between them, making sure you hit the positionals for as much damage as possible. Now the third ability that you can use while under the effect of Soul Reaver is the AoE version, which is called Guillotine. Now that will deliver an attack with a potency of 200 to all enemies in a cone before you. Nice and straightforward, that one. Doesn't grant you any bonuses or anything like that, it's just a straight up damage move. Now next, you will have Grim Swath. Now Grim Swath will summon your avatar to deliver an attack with a potency of 140 to all enemies in a cone before you. And that as well will grant Soul Reaver, which lasts for 30 seconds. And again, that will cost 50 points of your soul gauge. That one is part of your AoE one. So you would use Grim Swath and then into Guillotine, just for that extra AoE damage. Now, lastly, you will get Soul Slice and Soul Scythe. Now, Soul Slice is a weapon skill. It will deliver an attack with a potency of 460, and it has an additional effect, which will immediately increase your soul gauge by 50 points. Pretty much, it's a free use of, every time you use it, it's a free use of Bloodstalk or Grim Swath, which is very cool. The Soul Scythe is exactly the same as Soul Slice, just in AoE form. It will deliver an attack with a potency of 180 to all nearby enemies, and again has the same additional effect as Soul Slice, and you can use those every 30 seconds. So that is your starter toolkit. It's quite a big one. So let's take all these skills, head out to the training dummy, and we'll put them all together for you. Right guys, so we made it to the Mia's Dojo and the training dummy. Now I want to start off by saying that this is just how I feel that the starter rotation should look like. It is subject to change as more information is learned by actually playing with the class a lot more. This is my initial thoughts on the 70 rotation, so please, by all means, don't take it as gospel. Feel free to play around with it, and if you can find a better way of doing it or another way of doing it, by all means, do suggest it in the comment section below. I'm happy to share information with you, because it's all new. It's new to all of us. So that being said, now single target wise, I would lead off with a Shadow of Death, straight into Slice, Whacking Slice, and Infernal Slice to generate soul points. Now keep repeating that until you get at least 50 points. And if you use 2 full combos, it'll get you 60, which is enough to do what is necessary. Now lead into that into a Bloodstalk. Now you have a choice of your next move, either Gallows or Gibbet. Now personally pick whichever one you are closest to position wise. In this case I would pick Gallows because I'm at the rear. Follow that up with a Soul Slice to get an immediate use of Bloodstalk again. Use Bloodstalk again, making sure I move to the flank to hit the Gibbet for the extra damage. Reapply Shadow of Death whenever you need to, whenever it's low. Straight back into your Slice combos to generate more points. Once you have 50 points, head straight back into Bloodstalk and just alternate your use of Gallows and Gibbet based on whichever one you use last. And then whenever Soul Slice is off cooldown, just pop it for that extra burst damage. Nice and cool stuff. Looks very cool. Very standard and seems fairly straightforward. Right, now AoE wise, I would again lead off with a Wall of Death to apply that debuff to as many enemies as possible. Straight into a Spinning Scythe and Nightmare Scythe to start generating points. Once you have 50 points, hit them with a Grim Swath, straight into the Guillotine. Then I would use Soul Scythe, straight into another Grim Swath and another Guillotine. And then go straight back to your Spinning Scythe and Nightmare Scythe combos until you have another 50 points, and then rinse and repeat. And make sure to reapply Wall of Death. Keep track of that timer and reapply that whenever it's running low. AoE combo wise, it's very straightforward and looks damn cool, to be fair. So guys, that is my take on the level 70 rotations, the starter rotations. So now we are going to jump into a dungeon environment, and I'm going to show you how it looks in an actual proper combat situation. Enjoy guys, enjoy. Now, dungeon wise, you will spend most of your time doing your AoE abilities, especially at higher levels, since you have access to all the cool toys, and the tanks will generally be pulling a lot more than the lower level dungeon stuff. So you'll have a larger pack, so you want to kill them as quickly as possible. Boss wise, same as always, observe all the mechanics, hit them with single target stuff, keep any damage buffs going, keep any debuffs on them, and just kill them as fast as humanly possible. Nice and straightforward. and see how this one goes. This is an interesting fight, this one. He doesn't have any visible telegraph like the floor ones. So you've got to keep an eye out on what his body's actually doing. Something like that, you want to be as far away as possible. I completely messed up that dash move because I was facing the wrong way. Case in point of what I was saying before. That I move generally means look away from the enemy. And just observe all the mechanics, take him down as fast as possible. And job done, nice and straightforward. Right guys, so this has been our first look at the Reaper job, how to unlock it, what the toolkit is, and overall how it all fits together into a rotation. Hopefully it has answered most of the questions you may have. If you have any more, do feel free to ask in the comment section below. I shall try and answer them to the best of my knowledge. Again, Leah, thank you very much for your help today. It is greatly appreciated. It's nice to have you back in the fighting chair. You've been having some fish and chip trips lately, haven't you? But it's nice to see you back. You ready to get going with all the other leveling you got going? Good stuff, good stuff. You'll have everything at 90 in no time. Right guys, thank you all for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, let me know in the comment section. Hit that like button. If you're new here, feel free to come hang out. Come check out some of the stuff we've got going on. We would love to have you here. If you're not new here, welcome back. Thank you again for all the support. It is much appreciated. I love you all from the bottom of my heart. And you all know what's coming. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And as always, just see you on the flip side. Bye bye.